This is the F3 Knoxville podcast, streaming live every week from Knoxville, Tennessee, where we'll take a look into the lives of our high-impact men that make up F3 Knoxville. We'll cover news and updates from our AOs and region, talk about leadership, and much more. Welcome, and iron sharpens iron. All right, good afternoon. Pusher, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Hey, good to hear from you, brother.
So thank you for having me here.
Hey, I'm glad you're here, man. Glad you're here. How was your queue this morning at Assam?
Oh, it was tough. I'm gonna say that it's my first time to queue in Saturday for 1 hour,
Oh,
and
wow.
I never realized that when I look at my time, it was 47 minutes. Oh my goodness, I still have to do 13 more minutes to torture this to torture these guys. But I got tortured more than them because I was like, my goodness, I said slow mosey. They're doing a fast mosey. So, but we survived. That's the best thing.
That is the best thing. Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, the difference 15 minutes makes from a normal F3 workout, and adding those 15 minutes on Saturdays, it's like, man, this is a long hour,
It,
really a
it,
long hour.
it is. It is. I'm not. I'm not going to lie to you, but makes a big difference. 15 minutes takes forever.
It does. It does. And I found myself in those situations too. Where I'm like, how do I still have 15 minutes? I thought I planned for the whole hour, and you've got to push through, which is
Yes.
good.
Yes. Yeah. It is good. It is good.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for being on today. I'm excited for our conversation we're about to have, and just to hear from you. So I know I want to hear your story of F3.
Oh.
How'd you come to F3? How'd you get the name Pusher? And then I think we'll focus on the power of positivity and pushing through hard things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and kind of flesh some of that out
Or
um, for today. But yeah, man, how'd you get plugged in with F3, and
well.
how'd you get a cool name like Pusher?
Well, I just got to. It's. Thank you for having me here. It's my. I'm honored that you asked me to join you. And but yep, actually, it started. Rusty. David.
Mm, okay.
He's my friend, and he's my very close friend. We went to Philippines. With his family and my family, and he was
Mm,
explaining to my oldest son that what kind of exercise he was doing. And at that time, I was just looking at him. Those are the tough workout. So I was looking away, trying to step away because I don't want him to let me, hey, going to join. So because I was like, I don't want, and I was like, I was in the worst shape of my life. I was overweight and everything, but I was looking away. I mean, really that one. So when we came back here in the United States, he asked me, "Hey, Pusher, how you going to do you like to work out?" And I said, "Yeah, with a little bit hesitation there." And said, "Okay, we're going to pick you up Monday, around 5:10." And all this time, I thought it was at 5:10 in the afternoon. And I said, okay, I'll
oh
come
man.
back. I'll come back. I'll come back from work. Then I'm going to get dressed and probably I'll meet you somewhere. And he just gave me a good look. No, we are not going to work out in the afternoon. We're going to work out in the morning. I said, 5:10 in the morning, going to pick me up? Ah, no way. You are not going to pick me up. So, okay, we will pick you up. So Sunday evening, I can't go to sleep. I was till 2 o'clock. I was just watching the time. And by the
Mm,
time that 4:30, my wife and woke up a little bit and elbowed me. You need to get dressed, so like that. My wife, her name's Con, and I go, oh
yeah.
my goodness, I don't want to. So I got dressed and so hoping that surely they're not going to be here in my drive at around 5:10. I mean, that's no way. Sure enough, I heard I heard their Jeep. Oh my goodness. So, I went to the workout in the asylum. Then I worked out really, really hard at that. That was the first time I heard, F3. Then, then of course, was the FNG. And when I heard, I was like, okay, what's smirking? Because I'm smirking. What's smirking? Smirking. I was like shocked and always scared. So by the time they said, okay, recover. I said, what kind of workout is that? Recover, because I have no clue about the lingo. So that's what they started asking me. So of course they, I was the FNG. They asked me, what's my history, and I said I'm from the Philippines and I'm a physical therapist. Usually, this is what it started. Usually, I always push my patient that, hey, you're doing great. Let's try to do 10 more. And I'm always pushing. Like if they have a knee replacement, I go, okay, let's try to do 10 more times of stretching. We'll do that. But on the other side, as being a provider, I said, I don't push myself. If I can get away from doing the air workout, yes, that was me. So I don't push myself.
Hmm.
So, of course, my F3 brother's name is Pusher. And that's where I came the name Pusher. And, since then, I love the name. It just brings me that, oh, this is me. I'm Pusher. And
Hmm.
so that's the main that's the story of where Pusher came from.
Man, what a name too. And I love I love that your wife was like, "Hey, go ahead and get up and get dressed."
Yeah,
At 4:30.
yeah, yeah. I need some
Uh,
encouragement, but definitely I was scared with my wife more than not encouragement.
oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
So you made it through your first workout, and you get used to the lingo, obviously, of what's a Merkin, what is recover.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
recover is one of my favorite words to hear in F3.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
I agree with that.
um, so you made it through your first workout, and I want to go back to something you said because I I think it was really informational to hear, and I'm sure it was for your life as well. Of when you are working with your patients, you're pushing them to be the best versions of themselves, and you're pushing them for 10 more reps or 10 more steps.
Yes.
But you notice that, hey, I'm not doing this in my life. So
Yes.
as you continued to do F3, did you notice that gap close with between how you push people to be better professionally, but also how you do that in your own life as well?
Yes, actually, it actually F3 taught me how to push myself, because of
Hmm.
the encouragement from the other F3 brothers. So I'm pushing, with my patient, but at the same time, I have to change the way I, look at myself that, hey, if I'm pushing my patient, if my patient can do this, that much worse condition they are, what more for me that I don't have a knee replacement? I don't have a back pain.
Hmm.
Surely, if they can do that one through the encouragement from me as a physical therapist, surely I can encourage myself, but encouraging from my F3 brothers. So I changed my outlook like that. So every time I work out, my F3 brothers, the one I'm always following everybody because that's the encouragement that I get, and I push myself on that one. So that's the one it really changed my outlook. And of course,
Hmm.
Steam, I won't not going to forget. You were the first few people that you did the queue that, oh my goodness, that was the toughest workout that I ever done. And I
Oh
will not
man.
going to forget your name and say, okay, that's Steve. So if I can get with Steve all the time with the workout, I will be there. So every time that you have the queue, I always try to be there because you are the one that really encouraged me. And of course, all our F3 brothers.
Mm.
So,
Well, I'm really sorry that you had to experience that
no,
that
it's not. It's a good,
that
great
tough workout the
experience.
first time. Oh man. Well, and I would say the same for you as well. So you go to Asylum PM for the most part, right?
Yes, yes,
And sometimes Asylum as well, and even just affirming you for a second of whether I'm on cue or or not. Um, anytime pusher steps into that circle, so anytime that you enter into a workout before we start or step into that circle of trust before we kick off, it's like, okay, man, like this is good because I know pusher is going to push for the whole 45 minutes or the whole hour, he's not going to let up, and he's also not going to let the F3 guys let up as well. He's going to push them to be better versions of themselves. in that 45 minutes or hour as well. And so every time that you show up at an AO, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be good, you know. And especially when you queue and and everyone queues differently, which is awesome. But one thing I really enjoy about you when you queue and when you step into that setting and then lead at F3 is that you are very intentional about reminding the men push yourselves, you know, and it's okay if you don't do every. Hey, everybody. Had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. So before we get back to the conversation with Pusher for this week's episode, wanted to take this chance to plug this in here as well. If there is anything that you would like for us to cover on the F3 Knoxville podcast, maybe a certain topic you'd like us to dive into, or anyone you would like to hear from, feel free to let me know. I would love to make that happen for you. Drop me a line on Slack. If you are one of our F3 Knoxville guys, we'll make sure that that happens. Or if you have any feedback or questions about the podcast at all, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to chat with you about that as well. My email is dhenson1160@gmail.com. Once again, that is dhenson, DHENSON 1160@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Now let's get back to the conversation with Pusher about the power of positivity and pushing through hard things. When you step into that circle of trust before F3 starts, one
Yes.
thing I just really appreciate about you and want to affirm you is that you remind everyone there to push themselves. So whether they do all of the reps or they do as many reps as possible,
Yes.
you encourage them to push themselves to whatever level that may be for them, you know, and that's going to be different for everyone. But anytime that you show up at a queue, man, I know it's going to be a great workout,
Oh, thank you.
whether you're on queue or just as one of the packs as well, because I know I'm going to be pushed, you know, and that's what we need.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I think everybody deserve a great workout just like what you gave me. So as much as possible, I tried to, to be 100% for all of you because in return, I'm just trying to return the favor because this is what F3 gave me. So I'm trying to return the favor with
Mm.
regards with that one. And I would like to encourage everybody, just like how you encouraged me, how just like how Charmin or Lily Dipper encouraged me, and everybody in Asylum AM and PM encouraged me on that one too. So it's a very brotherhood, and that's what I love about F3.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely, and that brotherhood, you know, obviously extends out of the workout itself and how we
Yes.
go about our lives after the workout. So you've been doing F3 for almost 2 years or a little over two
Uh,
years at this point?
a little bit. 3 years. I
Oh, three
started.
years. Okay.
3 years. It's July. July it was 3 years. So, but I guess probably 3 years and 3 months now, something like that. So,
Awesome.
yes. So I'm still here.
Hey, we are glad you're here, man. So let me ask you this then.
Yes.
So within those 3 years, you're getting a good workout, obviously, and
Yes.
you're getting to push people inside F3 and also outside of F3 as well. You know, whether it be
Yes.
yourself and you're doing that in your job automatically as well. But has there been one thing or maybe a couple things that when you look back on your time in F3 that you've just uh, reflected on and been like, man, this has really changed for me during my 3 years at F3?
Yes, actually, F3 really changed me a lot with regards with being positive. When I
Mm,
say being positive, I always like, everybody has problems. Everybody has some, challenges in life.
mhm,
So I said, you know what? I need something or someone to encourage me just to just to move on, at the same time, and just surpass the challenges. One thing, when I work out, I'm going to say, okay, if they're going to be 10 Merkins and mosey back and forth there, that parking lot, that
Mhm.
one encouraged me, okay, I need to complete that task. I need to complete that mission for that exercise. So my goal is for me just to move on and complete that task. So after completing that task, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, that one helped me to, okay, and just for me just to survive on the next exercises. So,
Mhm.
okay, what's next? So it gives me a purpose in life. So small things like that, it gives me purpose to move on to the next challenge, to the next exercise. Well, on top of that, when I do that one, I always look at the life that if I have some challenges there, some people like lost a job or change a job. I always like, okay, if I had something this kind of problem or challenges, I know there's going to be a better way on next one, just like F3. So
Mhm.
in combination with positive with F3, that one helped me like, oh, there's always a solution. No matter how big is the problem, even how tough is the problem, there's always a solution. And that one F3 taught me how to become more positive, and I know there's always a better things will happen on the next few days, few months, or few weeks.
Mm.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that's such a good point, because sometimes it's easy for us, I think, to focus on what is right in front of our face. Like, man, this
Yes.
is really hard. Like,
Yes.
I do not know how I'm going to get over this, or I don't know what's coming next. And
Yes.
and I think it's a great point you made of, you have to move forward, and it gives you that confidence, and maybe that assistance to take on whatever comes next. So, for instance, in F3, if we're doing Merkins or something hard, just
Yes.
like you mentioned, it's like once you see that you can do that, once you see that you can overcome that, you're a little more ready and a little more fired up to be like, okay, what's next? Bring it on.
Yes.
And especially in the world we're in today, and I think that's an excellent transition into just
Yes.
just just talking about the power of positivity here,
Uh-huh.
and and thinking about, we are living in times that we have never seen, or
Yes.
that may scare us a little bit, and
Yes.
may cause us to tense up a little bit, and I
Yes.
think it's really important to stay positive, and you always have such a positive attitude, and such a
Oh, thank
positive
you.
outlook,
Uh,
and I can always count on you for that, just to be that voice of reason and that positive guy that's like, you know what, it's going to be okay, let's move on, and so talking about the power of positivity.
yes.
um, I know you mentioned that F3 helped with your positivity, outside of F3 as well. So,
Yes.
um, have you always been a pretty positive guy, or I guess, what is your outlook on that?
Well, before the F3, a few years back, I always, my anxiety level was up. I'm always the one that negative, oh, there's going to always going to happen something like that. um, and it's really hard to change that outlook, especially if there's no help like F3. So I was one of those pessimistic or negative person that always said there's always going to happen bad, always. That was before of me as as pusher. Before I was the Gabriel that always the negative and always waiting for bad things will happen. And when that
Mhm.
bad things happen, okay, see, I told you that will happen. I was like that. So, and it came to that point that I was also on the lowest point of my life, which was I unfortunately I lost my first wife. So when that one happened, see, I'm always like, why always happening to me? Why there's always happened to me like loss of business, or loss my very loved, my wife at that time. So I was like, yeah, my life is hard. I was so negative on that one aspect. So I was one of the, not much person that you don't want to talk to. But in regards with thanks to David or Rusty helped me because I look at him. He was one of my, I'm gonna say one of my friends that, like, dang, with Rusty, he can do this, and I can do this one too. Of course, it takes a while before it takes months and years before I became being a positive person. But one thing for sure that really changed me like a 180-degree turn from being negative person to become positive is through the F3 Brotherhood. I've never seen so much people, so much positivity that when I was running there and my very first time, I said, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. Then
Hmm.
there goes Rib. Rib was there. Like, come on, you can do it. I'm going, you can do it. Okay, let's see that stop sign. Okay, let's see that stop sign. Run, and we're going to do a Mosey. So that one kept me going, kept me going. So they never leave me, but especially I was the last one. Up to now, I'm still the last with that one. But no one leaves me, or no one leaves the six, which is great for an F3 Brotherhood. And so now to the F3, the power of positivity there is so much is flowing to our F3 brothers. And I always look forward to, like, to you, to Lily Dipper, to High Heels. I always look forward to meet with you because I always get that positive outlook as well then from all of you.
Hmm. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, other men need to hear other men tell them that you can do this.
Yes.
I think we need to be reminded of that. And so in your first F3 workout, Rib was
Yes.
like, "Come on, man, let's do it," and you had someone pushing you
Yes.
to keep you positive,
Yes.
and a pretty hard workout, right?
Oh, yes.
And we need that exact same thing outside of F3 as well. Of if we are going through something hard,
Yes.
um, we can count on our F3 guys to help push us through
Yes.
and and at least come at it from a positive mindset. So for instance, if we take an example, and I think the example of you and Ribbed was great. That he helped push you through and kept you positive.
Yes.
But if we look at ourselves in any situation
Yes.
and say, you really have two options here, regardless of what falls on the table in front of you.
Yes.
You know, in an F3 workout, whether it be burpees or Merkins, for
Yes.
example, or something difficult in life, you really have two options.
Yes.
Um, I can let this situation, take me down,
Yes.
and I can let this situation control how I think and feel, or I can come at it from a positive mindset and choose to see the good in
That's
the
correct.
situation,
Uh-huh.
and choose to see that. So
Yes.
is there a specific time or example maybe in your work? Because I know you like pushing people that you work with as well to be better versions of themselves, but um, is there a specific time that you can think of in your life that you were just faced with a decision um, and it could have been really tough to choose to see the good in that situation and be positive about it?
Well, one thing for sure that if I'm seeing a patient and the patient is cannot walk, like they're having a
Mhm.
hard time. So I always like I'm going to encourage them, trying to do that one. But this person, patient, is really was sort of like really struggling. So that one, look at I always look at the other side. Okay, if he cannot get up, so there's always an option that it is hard for me to push this person, or even not just a patient, only this person, that for me, like, okay, this person is not really doing it because there's some issue or there's really hard for them. It's hard for me too. So
Hmm.
what I usually do is, okay, if you cannot stand up, you can do this. Can you just raise your arm? Can you just kick me? I'm going to go, push
Hmm.
against my hand. If you can just push me, that only like probably 10 to 20 degrees of bending of the knee and just push me hard. If you can just do it only 2 times. So, okay, I'll try. When they say I'll try, okay, there you go. So they're going to keep trying. One, two. Then after that, okay, I know you're tired. I know, it's so hard for me to, okay, should I push a little bit more or not? So I'm going to say, okay, this is the last. Can you do a little bit two more, even just for 4 times? I said, I'll do it, but that's the last one. So they're going to push it 2 times. And after that, I'm going to encourage it. See, I told you, you already gave up on doing that, but you did 4 times of bending your leg or kicking your leg. So that one gives me also a sense of relief. I was relieved that this person is still working and wanted to get a better person. So there's always you always hear that to modify. You always have modified things, and there's
Hmm.
always a modification for anything that we do with exercise or with kind of challenges in life or problems in life. There's always a modification. So I always say there's always another route, there's always another chance. So, and that's what I can compare and I can relate to that. It's a hard decision, but when you hard to this to move forward or not. So I said, I just don't give up. I'm not gonna say I'm not going to no more. So I said, okay, how about just do this one? Instead of doing 10, let's try to do two. So um, yes, yeah, I got faced by that kind of a situation, but like I said, it's so hard for me to give up, and I don't give up easy with regards to, especially when I started work doing the F3, because I always want for everybody, either my profession or the person or even my family. I just like there's always a solution and there's always a modification in life that we can be a better person.
Mm. Yes,
Yes.
without a doubt. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, and I think would be helpful to talk this out too, because you just explained a situation where you saw something in someone else and saw potential in someone else and called it out in them before they could even see it themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes I think people think that being a positive person, or being positive all the time means that you are smiling 24/7, that you are just having the best day 24/7, that everything is going perfectly.
Yes.
And so sometimes there's this idea that being positive all the time is, well, can you be too positive? Or this person has it all going on, and in reality, that may not be the case at all.
Yes.
Um, what I like to associate being positive with is choosing that attitude and choosing that mindset.
Yes.
So when you talk about your patients and being positive and encouraging them to be better versions of themselves, um, just like you said, they may not understand that they can get there, but you see that in them, and then you draw that out by being positive, and you draw that confidence and encouragement through them,
Yes.
um, slowly, and I think that's excellent,
Yes.
and it happens exactly in F3 as well,
Yes.
just like you said.
When you do the workout, like when they do like it's like 10 Merkins, multiply that by 20. So I'm gonna say I cannot. Okay, I cannot do this one. If I cannot do the 100 Merkins, can I do a start with 50? Start with 50 or start with
Yeah.
10. Then if I can finish the 10, okay, do another set of 10. So until I reach the 50 mark. Then after the 50 mark, go, you know, up to all the way to 60 to 70 until you reach the 100. It may probably not as quick as others, which is, because of their, physical capabilities compared to
Sure.
mine.
Hmm.
Uh, but it surely is going to be like one step at a time for you
Hmm.
to be able to move forward or to be a better person. It's a tough workout. It's really, and I started really making hard on us because it was I was out of breath, short of breath. I cannot even talk. But okay, if I can, how about I can do, surely I can do one more repetition or two more repetitions. I can do, surely I can do that. So it's same thing. If I can do it, everybody can do it. But the only thing that
Hmm.
you always said, just like you, Steen, you don't have to smile all the time, but being like looking at the being positive for every repetition is already a progress. So for two repetitions, that's a lot of progress, and that's what I always encourage everybody, and including myself. It's not just only there. There's come to the point of, oh my goodness, so hard, so tough, but surely I can do one more repetition, two more repetitions, and that makes it a better person, for everybody.
Absolutely, and it builds that character along the way. So one that others can see, and then two that maybe you can prove to yourself, hey, I can do one more repetition, just like you said.
Yes,
Surely I can do one more. Surely I can do two more.
yes,
Um, and that turns into, well, gosh, surely I can do 50 now.
yes,
Um, and that's progress,
yes,
and that pushes us to be better men, um, and kind of moving to pushing through hard things as well. Man, there have been some really tough cues,
yes,
and tough CSOPs that
yes.
we've seen
Yeah.
in the past 2 or 3 years, um, and there's something that does for us. I think that when we choose the harder thing, or that when we choose to push through a hard thing, that does something for us. That when we come back to that stage, when we come back to that arena, that second time or that third time,
Yes,
it gets a little easier.
yes,
And we think about, man, do you remember when I pushed through that really hard thing 6 months ago, last week, 2 years ago?
yes,
Well, surely I can do this again, or surely, you know, and so when we go through hard things in life, it's not a if we're going to go through hard things, it's when, and that's going to look very different for all of us.
yes.
Um, but would you would you be willing to maybe talk a little bit about, um, how have you handled going through hard things, and how has that built you up as a man, um, up to now? Or how do you approach going through something hard and coming out on the other side, and what you've learned from that experience as well?
Well, what I did, you know, um, when losing the love of your life was, I'm not gonna say is one of the toughest one. It was the toughest one that I cannot even wish to happen to anybody. But of course, life is hard. That how did I make it? How did I make it? One thing that I can tell you at first, when I that one happened to me, it's sort of like I just stopped everything. I was down, stopped everything, including praying. And when I stopped praying like that, I said, you know what? I prayed so much, and I asked for a healing, for a miracle, for my wife to get better, from to take away the cancer from her, but it did not happen. So I
Mhm.
was on that point, on that one. But one thing that I realized that helped me to move to surpass those challenges or those um, in my life was when I started talking to people again. Starting number one, starting talking to God again. When I
Mm.
started talking to my family because I was down, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk, including my children. I was like, I was doing as being a dad, but I don't talk to them. So when I started talking to my children at first, like trying to have fun with them, talking to my family, talking to my coworkers, friends. That's the time I realized, and the main thing is talking to God. When I start talking to God, God, I said that to myself. Of course, every person has different faith, whether they believe in God, they believe in different religion, but with regards with your faith, it's up between you, between God and yourself. So the relationship between God is, it's not because of my relationship with my God. So you have a different God. So it's the depends on how you feel. So at that point, when I was starting talking to God, trying to start praying again, I just realized that, God, I'm going to tell you something. What you did, it was a little bit tough, but if you can just help me just to move on, I'll be happy. When I started talking to God like that, and said, I started to become more positive. Some started to become much happier. Then when I started become, being happy, it's, oh, okay. Well, I guess losing a spouse was tough, but you know what? There's always a life after that. And I just remember that when I talked to my wife at that time, I said, and when we were praying, I said, God, in our prayer, we always wish, for her healing. But after that, if you have a different plans for myself and for my wife, um, help us to have to achieve the peace that you always give. So when I had peace in my life, when I started talking and praying to God, that's the time that I was able to say, there's always a better things to do the next one. It might be probably chapters 1 to 15 on that one. So, well, let's try to make chapter 16 to chapter 30, of my life in my book. So you cannot have one book from chapters 16 to 30. There's always chapters 1 to 15. Usually in chapters first book or first chapter is always the toughest one. That's always the challenging one, but always on the last few chapters is always the one that, oh, what you did, what you learned from the challenges that you had, and what you become a better person. So and that's how I did it when I started talking to God. That's one main thing that helped me to move on and to become to move on and to become a better person.
Man,
Yes.
wow. First, I mean, thank you for sharing that
Mm.
and and being willing to talk about that.
Uh-huh.
I I just want to make that known right off the bat. Um, and when people see you, Pusher, and hear from you, um, it it is it is just the most apparent thing that you have um, such a positive outlook on life
Oh, thank you.
and such a positive impact on others' lives um, and yeah, man, thank you for sharing that
It's still a work
um,
in progress for me. I mean,
wow.
up to now, I'm still going to say,
Mm,
it's hard to be positive, but you know what? I tried my best always to become a positive and
hmm
always look at okay, what's going to be the brighter side on this one if I do this. So it's hard to be positive, but it's doable. If I can do it,
mm,
when everybody can do it, because
mm,
I'm no different from anybody. Everybody is the same. We have the same outlook. We have the same, energy, especially with the F3 brothers.
mm,
And I tried my best to become positive because, like I said, if I don't go to F3, my being positive will be lower than when I was, lower now if I don't attend F3. But that's why I'm still attending F3, because it's not just only the workout. It's the 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 camaraderie of our brothers. That's the one keep me
mm,
going. The F For me, the secondary is the fitness. But the number one is
Hmm.
the faith and fellowship for me, the one that helps me to become positive. Then, then the last with you for me, the fitness, because fitness is like a bonus. You like, oh, I'm healthier. I'm doing this. But the one thing that if you exercise your physical condition, your muscles there, or anything like that, your joints, you also exercise your brain to become a better person, to become positive. Because when you work out, all of your problems, all of your anxiety, everything goes away because you work out and you eliminate all those things, all the sweat and all the suffering that you did for that kind of workout. That after that, you have that reward of feeling, I did it. I did that exercise.
Yeah.
But I just really appreciate in everything with F3, what F3 does for me and to everybody.
Mm. Yes, yes, and uh, something just popped in my head that I wanted to share as well. With hearing you talk um, about that and how it extends past that first step, but even hearing you pray for peace in the situation
Yes,
and for clarity in a hard situation, man, that is a tough
yes,
prayer sometimes to
uh-huh.
pray. It's especially when we realize this might not go the way I want it to. And something that I want to bring up and talk about, as you were talking, just Proverbs 17:17 just came across my
Uh-huh.
mind of a friend loves at all times and a brother is born for
Uh-huh.
adversity. Um, and gosh, that's so
Yes, yeah,
true,
oh
right?
yes.
And uh, I mean, we have these friends, and that's all good and well, but you think about your brother, if you actually have a biological brother, but you think about your F3
Yes,
brothers, we are born to go through hard things
yes,
together, and born to take on adversity and sharpen that iron in the middle of that fire
yes,
together. And that's exactly what I hear from you talk about your time at
yes,
F3 and even going through some really hard
yes.
things as well.
It's an ongoing thing for me. It's like when you work out, when you be surrounded with a better, a great people surrounding you, and that one makes me a better person. So if you surround yourself with all of your, F3 brothers, they're all of them are positive. I became positive too. So it's not just only me that I'm started the positivity. It's because of the brotherhood that created me to become a positive person.
Mm,
So to be honest with you, I'm a nobody. I'm nothing special that anything like that. But it's just because of the you and all our brothers makes me a better person. Not better than them, just be a better person for myself compared 3 years ago before I first started with F3. But I just really
mm,
appreciate you and thanks to Rusty, he was the one, and Proton. I forgot Proton,
hmm.
that they were the one. It was Proton's Jeep when when I got here in F3. So I'm not going to. I'm going to say thank you to Rusty and Proton. If it's not for them, I won't be here. I won't
Mm,
be as positive as now.
mm. Well, and that's the heart of F3 as well,
Yes,
right? Of changing the lives of
yes,
men. You're planting, you're growing, and you're serving, um, all in one capacity here, as a high impact
yes,
man, and that's
yes,
important, and that's a good work to do. And so, one final thing I'd like to
yes,
ask as well is, um, in addition to all of the other encouragement that you have just poured out with wisdom during our time today, but um, if there are guys that may be going through some really hard things, or maybe are struggling to stay positive, or even struggle with taking things to God, like you mentioned, and praying, um, you know because once again, that is a very hard prayer to pray sometimes. Of God, let your will be
Yes.
done, um, even if it's not
Yes.
mine, and let me have peace about the situation as
Yes.
well. Um, what encouragement would you give to them, or would you just want them to know from you?
Well, one thing that I could give encouragement to people that they like to isolate, because most men, especially even middle-aged men, like myself, one thing that we like to do if we're in this kind of different challenges or situation in life, and we like to isolate ourselves, which is,
Hmm.
it's nice to have some your own time, but you don't want to isolate for a very long time. You need to reach out to someone that you can talk to, regards of either family or friend or F3 brothers. You need to, even though
Hmm.
you don't want to talk to anybody, just to be there, and even by not talking, just by watching and looking and what they're doing, just be surrounded by someone who is a positive person. You don't have to talk, just by watching them. It will help you to move on, and not to think about your any challenges in life. And I can relate to that, because by the time that you remove yourself from the isolation, it will help you to go, let's try to do this. I'm going to try to do one step at a time, just like what I said. But at the same time, you're going to realize, there's a life after this kind of uh, challenges. People like in trying to isolate themselves. So try to be with your friends, with your family, with your kids, um, and that will help you a lot. And that's what I did. And hopefully, based on my experience, hopefully people that who is being down or being depressed or anything, like they have a PTSD. So please reach out to anybody that you know that you can trust, and I surely you can trust our F3 brothers, and that's what I did. So, and that's what and with your loved one, with your wife, with your so trust, try to just reach out to them, and you're going to find your answer, and you'll realize, oh, okay, I think I can have peace, because you need to vent out your what kind of challenge in life. So that's one thing I can
Hmm.
relate, and I can give them advice, and make sure just to reach out for help. There's always help, always.
Hmm.
Yes,
Man,
yes.
Pusher,
Oh,
thank you
you're
so
well.
much
Thanks for having me.
for
Uh,
for sharing your
I
wisdom.
really appreciate for having me here, and like I said, I'm honored that you even asked me to do this podcast there.
Man, well, thank you. I am honored to just hear
Yes.
from you and hear a little bit of your
Uh-huh.
story and 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 you just hear so clearly the type of man that you are, the type of man that God's calling you to be, the type of
Uh-huh.
father you
Thank
are,
you.
and the type of leader and high impact
Uh-huh.
man you are, um, and and I just genuinely appreciate you and what you bring to a room when you
Uh-huh.
enter a room, and or obviously outside in
Yes.
F3, and I just want to thank you for everything you've shared and just for the positivity that you bring, to
Well,
our
you're
packs here.
welcome, but thank you as well too for all your encouragement as well to me. But I'm still looking forward for your workout.
Oh man, yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know if I've ever been as sore uh, than from a pusher Q, a Lily Dipper Q,
Yeah.
or or a
Oh yeah.
Pele Q. I mean, just the trifecta sounds
Well,
man. I'm telling
I guess I'm going to say that's a compliment, I would say. But,
you. Oh, it is. Oh no, no, it definitely
but
is. It is a very
yes,
sore compliment,
but,
but it is a
but
compliment.
but thank you for having me. I really appreciate this one, that that you invited me to join you.
Yeah, brother. Absolutely. Well, like we do, or like we have in the past episodes here, we'll end just like we would at F3 with a little
Yes.
Namo-rama here. So even though it's just us two, let's round it off
Oh,
with a little Namo-rama.
all
So go
right.
ahead, my friend.
Gabriel Hidalgo, 49, pusher.
Pusher, yes, sir. And then I am Dan Henson, 26, and I am
See.
same.
Well,
So
thank
thank you
you,
for your
and
time,
I'll
brother.
see
And
you probably next week. Uh,
you will. I'll see
all
you in
right.
the
See
fake
you, man.
balloon, my friend.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
All right.